My name is Stan Copeland, and some people call me the Pickling Parson, but most in the cast today call me Pastor. I'm real excited about this cooking show. We're going to be making some Bango Mango Chutney. And it's one of 6 different chutney recipes that we have come up with. This is the Bango Mango Chutney. It's that beautiful yellow color. And here we have the blackberry sage chutney. It's wonderful. And here we have the ginger tomato chutney. And then we have our signature, see Pickling Parson, it's the sweet honey onion chutney. And then here is the brandy peach chutney. And then finally, this is the green apple mint chutney. So these are all really great, but the one we're making today is my absolute favorite. I've entered it in 2 fairs. It won a blue ribbon in both fairs, and it is absolutely delicious. There's no chutney that has more spices than this particular recipe. It's all in the book, The Pickling Parson, When Life is Jarring, Recipes and Stories to Get You Through Tough Times. And it tells the story of Peter Weato and his family, and also the Zoe Geh Hospital. But it also gives you the recipe to this Bango Mango Chutney. We're in the home today of Susan and Woody Gandy. They've opened our home. They've been a big part of the hospital that we'll be talking about. And we also want you to know they have a wonderful family. I've known them for more than 2 decades now, and they've been a part of so much that's gone on for the good, not only at our church, but throughout the city and even in Liberia, which is where we're focusing on today, where the hospital is. I want to say that in this cookbook, since a lot of people don't know how to use chutney, including yours truly, I got a chef named Andy Knutson, who's the chef at Tilly's, that's in Dripping Springs, Texas. He's a wonderful chef. And he made up some recipes. For example, with the tomato ginger chutney, he used that on a dish called redfish on the half shell, and it's incredible. And with the green apple mint, he put that on grilled T-bone lamb chops, and they are out of this world. So if you don't know much about chutney, you can learn about it here, and you can learn how to use it in delicious dishes. So we're about to get ready. I want to introduce you to Susan Gandy and the rest of the stars in this show. Y'all heard me talking about the chutneys, haven't you? All right, well, it's so good to see all of you here. We have 3 generations of Weatos. I'm going to introduce them in just a moment. But Susan, I want to thank you and Woody for letting us come into your home and make some Bango Mango Chutney today. It's going to be lots of fun. You know, Susan has had so many leadership positions at our church, I can't even number them all. But just recently, she was awarded our highest honor, which is our Cross and Crown Award. And so, Susan, we're awfully proud of you and all of your leadership. And we'll be talking about the Zoe Geh Hospital a little later, and you and Woody are going to share with us about that. And I also want to say that Betty and Peter have been members of the church since 1996. I came in 1998, Susan and Woody came in 1997, so the Weatos have been here longer than any of us. And Peter has been such a leader in our church, as has Betty. We have a lot of Liberians at Lover's Lane, but we also have people from 14 different African nations in a very blended, culturally African fellowship that we love so very much. So thank you, Betty and Peter, for all that you do. And Joanna, maybe the star of the show today. Joanna grew up in the church, and I remember seeing her as a little baby, and then throughout our children's program and our youth program, and now she's at the University of Houston. You're studying psychology there. And knocking it out of the park. She is brilliant, and we're so very, very proud of her. We are going to talk about the hospital today, and Rob Langdon is going to be coming in shortly, we hope. And Rob and Woody Gandy, they both met each other and working in an emergency room, both physicians, of course. And so we're looking forward to having Rob here. Rob loves to bike, but he also loves to cook. And we're going to need another cook on hand when we start making this chutney. You know, Liberia is a beautiful country in West Africa. And I want to talk a little bit about Liberia. Liberia was devastated by a civil war that started on December the 24th, 1989. And so through the 1990s, this uprising that overthrew what was known by many as a corrupt government was said to have been started in the Zoe Geh region. And therefore, genocide was a tactic the government embraced against the Geo people. It was a very sad time in the country, and the infrastructure was largely destroyed. The roads are still a good example of the way the development has taken place so slowly. And some areas like Zoe Geh are difficult to access. Therefore, the needs of the people in this part of the country are really greater than other parts of the country. And today, the land and the people are so beautiful, but the remote areas are still very underserved regarding utilities, government assistance, and health care. I love the Liberian people, and we have so many Liberians who are part of our congregation now. It really does enhance the spiritual life and the ministry of our congregation. Now, are y'all ready to make some Bango Mango Chutney? Yes. All right, we're going to do it. The chutneys that I do feature ingredients that we grow on the farm, namely the sweet noonday onion, which is the same as the Vidalia. They're both yellow granix onions, but we think the noondays in East Texas are sweeter than those Georgia onions. and it also features garlic that we also grow on the farm. So I kind of like to think this Bango Mango is like East Texas coming together with Liberia and being cooked in a Dallas kitchen, and it doesn't get any better than that. Peter and Betty, are they growing all year in Liberia?
Yes, we grow that a lot. Even in our yard in Monrovia, we have it just all over Liberia.
Yes, I love mango. So wherever I get my property, I plant mango over there. Even in Zoe Geh, at my house, there's 2 mango trees there. Because we eat mango almost every day. I love it.
They're good. Well, I've got my cookbook right here. We're going to need the recipe. I don't have it exactly memorized, but on page 81 and 82 in the cookbook, we have the Bango Mango Chutney. And we have all of these beautiful spices and ingredients that I want to talk to you about and how we'll be putting them in the different cooking stages of the process. We have the mangoes, look how beautiful they are, and the riper, the better. But if they're really ripe, you don't want to cook them too long because you don't want the mangoes to get mushy. But we have 6 cups of what I call chunked mangoes. These are the sweet noonday onions that come off the farm. We have a little over 2 cups in the recipe. We use the serrano peppers, and they're pretty spicy. If you want the chutney to be more spicy, use more seeds. And I use about 4 serrano peppers in this particular recipe. The raisins we use are just your regular black raisins, as well as golden raisins, just to give us some different look to the chutney itself. As I mentioned, we grow both the onions and the garlic on the farm. And we've got about 2 tablespoons of garlic. We use a tablespoon of ginger, which is ground ginger, and it's really aromatic. The niglia seeds are the little black seeds. They're sometimes called cumin seeds. You can also use black pepper. And they're mixed with the sesame seeds. There's a tablespoon of each of the seeds. We also use red pepper flakes in this recipe, and you can see about a tablespoon, a little more if you want it more spicy, a little less if you like it less spicy. We use 2 teaspoons of ground coriander seeds and also 1 teaspoon of cumin. I love the turmeric. We use 1 teaspoon of turmeric, and it's a beautiful spice. It turns the dish very yellow, and it's also really good for you. This spice is optional. It's saffron, and I use about a teaspoon of saffron to get it a little more yellow, and it also has that beautiful kind of stringy look to it with that red color. And this is kosher salt. We use 2 teaspoons of kosher salt. Now remember, never use iodized salt when you're pickling and canning. It's got to be pickling salt or kosher salt. And all of our chutney has a little sugar in it. This recipe calls for 2 cups of granulated sugar. Now I've added a little bit more because if you make the chutney spicy, then you want to have a little bit more sugar to kind of cut that heat. And this is what brings it all to a gel form. This is called clear gel. It's a product made by Hoosier Farms. You can use pectin, which is the traditional gelling substance, but I really do like this clear gel. And the clear gel we have is about 1/2 cup. I like to use pecan oil when I'm sauteing, and we're going to saute some of the ingredients in the pecan oil that I have, and about 2 tablespoons. You could use a little more if you want to, but just enough to get it sauteed. Vinegar is a key ingredient in all of your jams and jellies and chutneys. It's what really brings that pickling factor into play. So we have 2 cups of vinegar. All right, so Bango Mango starts like this. It moves to this. And when you add all of this together, you have a delicious, spicy chutney. Okay, it's time to start the cooking. Joanna, why don't you bring the stock pot over? And it has a little bit of the pecan oil that's already heated up. So now it's time to add the ingredients. Susan, why don't you add the sweet onions to the stock pot?
All right.
There you go. And Betty, why don't you add the peppers, the little serrano peppers, and we've got quite a few seeds, so this is going to be pretty spicy because Betty and Peter said they love spicy. And Peter, why don't you add the ginger and the minced garlic, and we'll be ready to start sauteing that. Very good, very good. All right, and there goes the ginger. It's going to smell heavenly here in a minute. Okay, Joanna, back onto the stove. All right, that's perfect. Let's turn the heat up just a little bit, Joanna, and let's start, just stir it in as it starts to heat up, and it needs to saute, about 5 minutes. Now, while you 3 Weatos are cooking, I'm going to ask Susan to join me at the table, and I want to talk to Susan. I think Woody's in the audience over there, and so we'll visit with Woody too. So we'll be back in just a few minutes. I appreciate so much y'all letting us come in and have the little cooking show, but I really wanted to talk to y'all about the hospital. I remember when Peter first came to see me with Betty and talked about his dream about the hospital. I remember how passionate he was about it and how much he wanted to see this happen. And I didn't know exactly how it could happen. I said, I want to introduce you to a few people, and the 2 of you were the first ones I thought of. Woody, knowing of your background as a doctor and all the things that y'all have done to help so many people, I just wanted to share that with you. What did y'all think about when Peter first came to you and talked to you?
We were so moved by the story of Peter and Betty's escape from harrowing and dangerous circumstances, and their dedication to want to return to Liberia and do something good for the people there, their selfless nature. And that moved us, and so we wanted to help.
Yeah. What about you, Susan?
You know, I appreciate the opportunity to remind myself why we were interested, because it has been about 15 years ago now. But they were, Peter and Betty were so obviously driven with their mission and with their story. And I was interested in it. But what I really remember is going over there in March of 2007 for the first time and seeing the state of the country in Monrovia and then out in Zoe Geh. There in Zoe Geh, they were so joyful and they were celebrating and they were giving to us. And so I couldn't help but want to help them in some way because they were giving to us.
Yeah, I remember Peter, he wanted to do more than a clinic. You know, he really had a vision for a hospital. And I know we started out kind of small, but it just continued to grow and meet the needs of people. What are some of the other thoughts that y'all had about, Woody, maybe from your perspective, about what you saw as the most dire need related to health care in that remote area of Liberia?
Well, in the United States, we count on the availability of medical care should we be injured or become ill. But that's not always the case. That's not always available in other areas of the world. And Liberia is particularly challenged in that way. People with serious life-threatening injuries and illnesses often did not have access to any medical care, which was most heartbreaking to us. And so when I hear stories such as a woman who has an ectopic pregnancy, they're trying to make it their way to a distant hospital to bring her for medical care, but she dies on the motorcycle in a route. That just can't help but move you. And it was clear that they had a great need for medical services in these areas. So we wanted to help.
You know, it was at that time that I said, there is such a need for this hospital here. And so thankful that Peter was there and his dedication to be there. And, you know, Susan, that's one of the things that has impressed me the most, is that Peter's willingness to be there.
It is key to the operation of that hospital, to have Peter there. And Betty has been there a lot of the time, but Peter's really there 10 to 11 months out of the year. And he goes and oversees it. He even mentioned that he doesn't get a lot of sleep when he's there because he's always wanting to know what's going on at the hospital. So he really is truly interested in it and looking over it. And he's so dependable and good and honest when it comes to the funding that comes in.
Peter's passion for the people there and wanting to make sure that they get cared for, it's just really, really moving.
It is. It is beautiful, though.
Oh, gorgeous. It really is. All right, speaking of beautiful, I can smell that chutney from over here. I know it's a beautiful golden colored, and I think I need to go see it, Woody. Susan, why don't you join me? Woody, you stay right here. We'll see you in a minute, okay? Oh, yeah, that's looking good. Joanna, you and Betty have done a good job. I'm sure Peter helped a little bit too. But Betty, I know you've got to go to work, and we're going to be sad to say goodbye, but we're going to make sure you get some of this Bango Mango.
I would be happy if I can get some because I really want to taste it.
I know you do. All right. Y'all did such a great job sauteing the onions and the peppers, the garlic and the ginger. Let's bring all of that over here and let's add all of the other ingredients, except we'll save the mangoes till the last 5 minutes. We're going to bring all of this to a boil, and we'll also stir in the clear gel in the last 5 minutes. Let's go ahead and add all the ingredients. It really doesn't matter how we do it. Just go ahead and pour in that vinegar, Susan, and go ahead with the turmeric. All right, there goes the salt, and here come the raisins. Yeah, they're going to be delicious. And there's the cumin. And here come the golden raisins and the red pepper flakes. And now the saffron. Oh, that's going to be so good. And now we've got the coriander, the ground coriander, yeah. And the secret weapon, the niglia and the sesame seeds. All right, Peter. I think it's very appropriate that you got to add the seeds. And now, the sugar is so important. Remember, I'm putting a little more sugar than the recipe calls for. Go ahead and pour it all in because we got a pretty spicy dish here, and I think that sugar will cut some of the spice or some of the heat, as we call it, and it'll be perfect. That looks delicious. Let's put it on the stove. Those handles are just a little bit warm. We're going to put it back on and turn up the heat. All right, that looks good. We'll have this ready in just a minute. All right, Peter, let's leave the cooking to Joanna. She's got it in good hands, and let you and I go over here and visit a little bit about the hospital. I remember, and I shared with Susan and Woody about the time you and Betty came into my office some years after I had become the pastor. I guess it was about 15 years ago, actually, when you had that vision about a hospital back in Zoe Geh, your home area. Yes. And tell us how you got that vision.
I actually had the vision because when I was in Liberia, I was in the medical school. But what moved me is that when Betty came and the kids returned, I began to hear a lot of news, bad news from my home area, and within that area, there is no nearby hospital. Right. The only closer hospital is Ganta United Medical, which is about 150 miles away. Yeah. And people were dying from minor illnesses in my area. And then thinking about my own safety, and I got over, and more people that were left back home were dying, I decided that we have to make something to happen to save the lives of those that are over there, because there is no nearby hospital. The war had killed a lot of people, and now people are dying from minor illnesses. Yeah. This is how we got a vision. We came to your office, and when we told you, you said, your dream is too big, but I would see what to do, and I would introduce you to a couple. Maybe they will help, because they are all medical practitioners. And you said, you call Susan, and you said, she's a nurse, and Woody, he's a doctor, but I will see what we'll do. I returned to Liberia, and during this time, it was very bad. Yeah. But those that were in the village and the towns that we passed through, they were overjoyed seeing people from the United States, especially the white people, to come to their aid. They was very happy. Yeah. And Woody too did not waste time. He went, when we got to the clinic, Woody went to the clinic and said, oh, we got a doctor here. I can remember a long line, and people were sitting out. The patient was over 200. He could not even see all of them. Then while Woody was paying attention to the patients and getting their cases going ahead, I told Susan, I said, this is not a clinic, because I only annexed this to 12 rooms. So let's go and you see where we are erecting the building. Woody and I, we all drove there. When we got there, Woody saw it and said, Peter, I need you to take me somewhere that I think I can make a phone call. So Woody started calling to his office, and he said, Peter, I'm going to give you $200,000 now for you to go and complete this job. What you need? I said, Woody, I started shedding tears. I said, I don't know what to tell you right now. We have to go to Monrovia. And the following day, he and I went, along with Susan. We went to the capital city, Monrovia. There was only one single bank at the time, which is Echo Bank. So Woody and I went to the bank, and we opened the Zoe Geh account. I think it took like 2 or 3 days. The funding was in. I left him there. We went, we purchased nearly everything that I needed, like the window glasses, cement, and the roofing, zinc. And Woody said, Peter, we learned that you want to go back to work, but we will take care of your time. So just remain here and take care of the work. And spent 2 months, and the job was completed. And later on, again, Woody and Susan returned to come and see the work. And when they saw the work, Susan, I remember, she said, we have to go and meet with Nick. He said, Peter will have a team. And Woody said he has a friend called Ron. And the story that I got from Woody at the time, I don't know if you remember, he said, Peter, my friend Ron usually tell me, he said, when we were a physician at a hospital, anytime to bring patient, when even the patient passed, I would still be there to make sure that the person didn't die. And Ron would say, Woody, patient cannot die. The passion that these people have, that's encouragement. I said, I will never leave from Liberia. I prefer being in Liberia 90% of my time to make sure that every dollar of cents that will be given towards the hospital be used for the intended purpose. And this is what we're doing. The hospital has been enlarged and life saving daily. As we speak, we have ultrasound to the hospital. We have an X-ray machine that was purchased by the team here, and thank God and thank Ram too. People are completely surviving through the hospital. There is no nearby hospital in that area. And we have an outreach going from town to town, village to village, because the patients that come in, they are so healed. We even appealing to the government to be able to help us to do more than what we are doing, because we are overworking, but the lives are saving. And I'm so thankful to Loverlands United Methodist Church also, because if we're not you to have come to our aid and find the humanitarians today, then I think there will be no area to be called Zoe Geh, because without the hospital, there won't be any human being living within that area anymore.
All right, all right. Let's go see Rob. We've been waiting for him. Yeah, we've already been talking about you, and you got here just in time. It's time to put this wonderful Bango Mango Chutney into the jars.
Smells wonderful.
All right, so Joanna, put it right here, right in the center. And I'm going to show y'all what we're going to do. This Bango Mango is all ready. This is called a jar funnel, and we're going to just put it on top of the jar. It keeps it from getting on the threads. You don't want the sticky Bango Mango to get on the threads. And it's nice and gelled. And you want it to come about to where the threads are. It should be filled up to about right there. And then you put the lid on, and you get it finger tight, because that air has to come out of it through the boiling process or the canning process. And that's what seals it. When it cools off, it actually will seal. So why don't y'all try your hand at it? That particular ladle has a cup when it's full, so it's going to need to be put in there a little more than 2 times, because it's not quite full each time. That's good. All right. And that funnel keeps all of the goodie going in the jar and not getting on the threads. That's it. That's perfect. I think once you shake that down a little bit, that's going to be right where it needs to be. Okay, Joanna, you can take it off. That's good. Get a lid. Yeah, go ahead and put it all the way down on there, and just about like that. That's perfect. Okay, well, that was good, Peter and Joanna. Now, Rob and Susan, why don't y'all try your hand at it? Yeah, get that.
Please go. Okay. Okay. Step 1, this funnel.
That's right, the funnel.
Place it here.
Right, right.
Use the scoop.
Yeah, that's
the
it.
aiming is the tough part.
The aiming is the tough part. Now, all of those onions have been sliced with a mandolin slicer. And Susan, you put the lid on, and we've got a jar of Bango Mango. That's the perfect amount, perfect amount. Now you got this all ready to go in the canner, and the canner is all ready. The water is boiling perfectly. I'm going to put that right there. So this is going to take about 15 minutes for this to completely seal. And so, Rob, why don't you tell us a little bit about what's going on at the hospital? You're on the board. What are some of our needs at the hospital right now?
There really are significant needs. The ambulance is not functional right now. It's a crucial part of the operation. The hospital is certified for 90 beds. It only has 45 and really has a desperate need for 45 additional beds. The water is a problem. The water, I think they need 4 additional wells. There are some other important material needs, gloves. Yeah. I think there are gloves that they need. And, those I think are the central needs that we're trying to address at this time.
And so, obviously, money gets all of that. And if we get to that 45 bed spot, we've got some funding coming in if we can make that mark. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. There's a very significant funder of an international stature is willing to step in. That would be a really important step for the hospital.
and it's all ready to go in the canner. So we're going to lower it into the canner. So this will be boiling for about 15 minutes. It'll boil all that air out of the jar because we hadn't tightened them down yet. And then we'll place all of them here on the counter, and they'll cool, and as they cool, you'll hear those jars start clicking, and that means they're sealing. And once they seal, you can put it in the pantry for a year or even longer, and it's going to be just as good as the day you made it. And when you get finished, here's what it looks like when it's all finished. Bango Mango. There it is. Isn't it beautiful? And when I'm pickling and canning, I like to talk about sharing goodness and making kindness connections, which is a lot of what we've been talking about today. So, Joanna, when I say, who are you going to share your goodness with? Who are you going to share yours with?
I plan to give my jar to my dad because he really likes to try new things.
Oh, yeah. Rob, how about you?
Well, this is probably the most delicious gift I've ever had to give, and I think I might have two. Is that right, Peter? You promised me two? So one is going to go to my wife. The other one's going to go to someone who might donate to Zoe Geh.
Okay, Susan, who are you sharing goodness with?
I'm going to give mine to my next door neighbor. They're elderly, and she was a great cook, but now they have someone cooking for them, so they can still use this.
Okay, Peter, the star of the show, who are you going to share your goodness with?
I'm going to give mine to Rob, because Rob is one of those that actually doing well for the Zoe Geh and saving lives for the sake of God, and also he carry on humanitarian services in that country, and people's life are saving. So I want to give mine to Rob.
All right, we've had a great day today. We've made some Bango Mango that's out of sight, and also we've talked about a great hospital, in Zoe Geh Hospital. And those are two of my favorite things, but there's not a close second to the Zoe Geh Hospital. So I know we're all about sharing goodness. We got goodness to share. But Peter, nobody's going to be sharing more goodness than you're going to be sharing when you get back to Liberia. Thank y'all for your service on the board. You're going to have a great semester, Joanna. And I want to say thank you for tuning in. And you can go on Picklin' Parson, the YouTube channel, and you can see all of these cooking shows. You're not going to want to miss this one.